Thanks for joining today. I'm Denzel Wessels, founder and CEO of Dymium. We're here to talk about a foundational challenge facing every enterprise adopting AI today, and that's really controlling what these new systems can see, do, and access in real time. As AI agents become embedded in customer operations, analytics, and workflow, traditional data controls aren't enough anymore. What's needed is a new model of governance and data protection, one built for speed, precision, and trust. We at Dymium want to revolutionize the way you interact with your data. Dymium enables the ability to build new AI agents, applications, or analytics securely whilst reducing the risk around your data. We do this through a new technology that we call our Ghost Layer. The Ghost Layer sits in between your data and your data consumers and enables you to safely roll out AI in your organization while adding zero trust, reducing breach risk, and enabling compliance and auditing in new flexible way that starts at the data level. Our tools give you new ways to deploy and manage AI, API, and apps and analytics safely with zero delay. We do this with our new Ghost Layer. Now, this one layer powers all use cases, including AI, apps, and analytics. Dymium enables a new AI governance layer. Think of governance for an AI-centric world. This allows you to meter compliance with regulatory requirements. In addition, Dymium also allows you to transform your data in real time to create the appropriate lens of data for any use case. This includes real-time transformations like redaction, blocking, obfuscation, and more. With Dymium, there's no more data ownership fights. Data usage can be enabled between services and users. There's no need to move the data, therefore no more control battles. Data stays where it is in a zero trust, monitored, and interconnected environment. With Dymium, ETL is obliterated. We enable fine-grained access and user data level control, so users have a new relationship with their data. Users can quickly install Dymium to enable zero trust and compliance on top of their existing infrastructure. And because the data does not need to move or be copied, there are no business delays. With that, Dymium provides a homogeneous interface to your data. Data access can be a pain. We bring efficiency and zero trust without the need for creating additional custom plumbing or transforming your environment. Let's take a look at Dymium's platform. Let me give you a quick overview of what it takes to roll out our platform. The first thing you'll do is you'll connect us to your directory for authentication. So we support your classic authentication like SAML, OIDC, so things like Okta, Entra ID. The next thing you'll do is you'll deploy a connector, and a connector is a lightweight Docker container that you deploy in the environment where it can reach your data. The next thing you'll do is you'll add your data sources to our platform. And this is as simple as, choosing the type of data source, giving it the data source names, the IP and port of where it lives, and the service credentials, that describes the maximum service access that you would like Dymium to have. Once the data source is added, Dymium will start to fingerprint all the data that is in your organization to help you understand what's inside. From that point, you can define the rules for your organization, but really what we're going to drill into is creating a ghost database. And a ghost database we can do as simply as creating, giving it a database name, choosing where we want to pull data from. In this case, we'll pull it in from this Purple Dahlia database. And then within that, we can go in there and choose which data we'd like to have access to. And in this case, we can choose our public schema, and let's take a look at the employees table. And we can see that Dymium has automatically fingerprinted the type of sensitive data that we found in those different tables and rows. And so we can quickly, choose a policy level and go and fill it. Or we could even go and customize it to say, hey, look, maybe full names, let's not allow that. Let's go ahead and obfuscate that. So we can define the quick lens of data that we want. And so we can give it our little comment over here and hit save. And once we do this, we apply this, and all we have to do is assign this to our users and groups. Now let's take a look at an application demo using Dymium's GhostDB. We have an application that has been built that we lovingly call the Super Secret Portal. And this Super Secret Portal, instead of talking directly to its database, it's talking to a ghost database instead. And what we're able to do is we're able to differentiate access for different users based on who the user is accessing the application, and actually transform the lens of data in the back end. And to show this, we're going to show logging in as two different people. The first one is going to be John, who works at a 3-letter government agency. And when we sign in as John, we can see that John has access to being able to view bases, and if we click on view bases, we can see the military bases that are available, etc., their locations. We're going to take a look at maritime ports, and we can see under maritime ports, we can see all the ports listed, whether the harbor is used for military use or not. And then the last one we'll take a look at is airports over here. And we can see when we look at the airports, we can see the military use column for airports, as well as FAA contact information with real names of people. Now what we're going to do to show that differentiated access, all we're going to do is sign out and sign back in as a different user. And the user we're going to sign in with this time is Jane at an allied nation state. And so if we think about that, we really don't want Jane to have the same level of access to information that John did, coming from a 3-letter agency. And the first thing we'll show is going to bases. So this web app now is trying to access the data for show bases, and we've actually left the error in here to show that now for Jane, this data about the military bases doesn't even exist in the GhostDB anymore. There isn't anything there for her. So we've created a specific lens of data feeding this application specifically for Jane. And if we go further, we'll look at some of the other things we were looking at earlier, like maritime ports. If we go look at maritime ports, we can see the same ports, but we notice there's actually something missing over here. We had a military use column for these maritime ports before. It is no longer there. Jane's not allowed to know about it. And last one we'll take a look at is airports. And in airports, remember we had a military use column ahead of FAA contact. It's gone now as well. It's been redacted and blocked. And if we look at FAA contact, if you remember before, John had the real names of these FAA contact people. And because Jane is not allowed to know this, we've actually obfuscated the contacts for access to this data for Jane. So now Jane has a unique lens of this data. So this shows how with GhostDB, we're able to manipulate the data that is actually available for different applications or agents, etc., in real time, so that only the appropriate lens of information is available to the right user application in real time at access time. There was no need to do ETLs and pre-plan this data. We're able to transform it in real time at access time. For our next demo, I'd like to show you Ghost API. And Ghost API is a way that we can use our platform to create no-code APIs to provide access to data for building new applications, enabling BI systems, or partner access to data. And in this case, what we want to do is we want to create an API that says, hey, can you generate me an API that returns the names of all large airports? And when we hit Generate API, because Dymium's platform understands the content and the context of language, Dymium is able to figure out how we can answer this question to actually create an API to provide access to this data. And so if we click Test API, we can see the payload that comes back of all the airports that were available. And we can continue to refine this API to say, hey, how about you add coordinates to it? So we can go hit refine, and Dymium is going to figure out how to answer that and craft the appropriate Ghost API for it. And if you see, if we click test, it's going to validate it, and we see this new payload come back with the locations of these airports. And imagine if we want to refine it one step further to say, hey, can you actually include the FAA contact for these different airports? And if you remember, in our GhostDB, we actually had the rule to say that the FAA contact must be obfuscated. And so when we go and test the output of this API, we can see that now it includes the FAA contact, and because it's coming out of the actual GhostDB, we see that the policy actually follows the data. So when this API is crafted, it even includes the obfuscation rules for the data as well. And if we feel good with this, we can say, let's go ahead and deploy the API, choose the API key we want to deploy it, and just like that, we've created an API a Node.js performant API is what the Ghost APIs look like. We've created an API that can then be leveraged for any business need as well. And we've done it in minutes, and the data did not have to be lifted or shifted. We're able to use it anywhere data that is or exists across the organization in real time. And so with that, we'll now switch to actually looking at a web application that is actually interrogating those APIs. And to do this, we have another application. And what this application is able to do is go and discover the API endpoints. And this is actually using MCP to now discover the API endpoints that are available. And these are the Ghost APIs. And if we take a look at, here's the actual API that we just created in real time a few minutes ago. And if we want to go and consume it, we just go and select it. And let's go just do a query of the API. And you can see what comes back now is the exact data that we had created in a Ghost API for, including the appropriate transforms to expose this information. So just like that, in minutes, you're able to create APIs to expose data without any of the data science, lift and shift, data duplication. And this includes zero trust and policy and governance, all wrapped around the APIs that have been deployed. Now, the last thing we're going to look at is how we can advertise these Ghost API endpoints to agentic workflows. And to do this, we've created a transportation agent. And this transportation agent is meant to mimic a transportation specialist in the government defense side of the world. So imagine if we had somebody that says, I am this person with the secret identity, Agent Smith. I just arrived by boat to this port. I'd like to fly commercial. Can you help me with that? So imagine there's a bunch of sensitive information. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click Execute Query. And what this is actually doing is we're now using public ChatGPT with our data that is private in our organization, mixed across all these different data sources, and we're able to use it in real time without the need to lift, shift, or duplicate this data, or overexpose the data to any of these agentic workflows. And we're able to provide inference time security at access time to the data. And we can see once this agent completes, we'll see an itinerary that pops out the other side for this secret agent, Agent Smith. And you can see here's a flight itinerary, etc. for them, all the way to the point where they've even notified the real FAA contact over here. But it's less so about the output of the API. What we've done, or of the agent, it's actually the console output that we want to walk through. So think of this is behind the scenes what's actually happening with this agent. And you can see the first thing that happened when it started up is Dymium advertised the Ghost MCP tools that are available to the agent. And if we look at these very carefully, these are actually the Ghost APIs that have been created in Dymium's platform, including the last one that we just created, which was returns names, coordinates, and FAA contact for all large airports. So we can see these are now being advertised to ChatGPT. Now, the really cool part of this is the APIs are advertised, but there's actually been no data connected. So when ChatGPT goes to figure out how to actually solve this, you can see that it's able to figure out that with the tools advertised over Ghost MCP, and that's the Ghost APIs, it's able to figure out how to start getting access to this data. So it knows that, hey, to get the closest airport to port, we have to call this Dymium Ghost API with these parameters. And we can see all of the planning that it has to do, and then we can see the API execution. And the data was not previously connected to ChatGPT. It's actually happening in real time. And the one we really want to look at is getting real identity and passport number using the secret identity real name Ghost API. And we can see that it returned the real information, Hank Johnson, and a passport number. Now, what is really amazing is we're able to pass through the actual identity. So the only information that was able to come back was only for that individual user, Hank Johnson. We never had to overexpose any other information. In fact, no additional information was actually exposed to ChatGPT. It happened real time at inference, and we created the perfect lens of data to be able to solve this agentic workflow in real time. So this is a quick demo of how Ghost API and Ghost MCP can come together to solve this new agentic security with access control and zero trust all the way to the data front door. So with that, I really wanted to thank you for your time, and we look forward to talking to you.